Hello everyone, my name is Lanso90 and welcome to my Post-Mortem review for Samurai Jack Season 5. If you haven't seen the season already and you don't want anything spoiled, you're probably going to want to turn away now. Or forever hold your peace. Spoiler alert. Basically, this is kind of going to be a response to my last video I made, which was my prediction for how the ending would be before the last two episodes came out. And it's kind of going to address that as well as just kind of review the season overall. Because we're starting to get some mixed opinions, so I'm going to offer mine up. My opinion is the first half of the season was excellent. Like, some of the best writing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, better than Breaking Bad, better than Game of Thrones, better than all that kind of stuff. It was really, really good writing for these first few episodes. I'm kind of just going to go episode by episode. I'm not going to get to huge detail on them until the end, where things get a little bit more mixed in the reviews. So, first episode, we had the great opening scene of Jack destroying these robot beetles, which paid homage to the very first episode, or the first episode movie, since it was actually technically the third episode, where he went around killing all those beetle things, the beetle bots. And he killed a shit ton of them again in this episode to save those emoji people, who are extremely cute. Generally, just the writing was excellent, like I said, and had very dark undertones. It really told you that this is how a reboot is supposed to be done. Like, it was a little bit more mature, but it didn't really try to step out of our comfort range too much. Not like some other things that get rebooted where they go way over the top trying to make it grittier. It did not go that far on this one. But it did become more mature with the aging audience. It was, what, 15, 16 years ago when it first aired? So, it's been a long time. And most of us who were kids when it aired are now adults ourselves, so the darker tones, the more serious messages were welcome, I think. And I don't think there was any problems with Season 1. We also had the fight with Scaramouche, which added some comedy into the mix, and it was pretty good quality too. It wasn't just stupid jokes, it was pretty funny stuff coming from Scaramouche. So that was episode 1. Oops, I ended the audio instead of skipping to the next slide here. Let me fix that. Alright, next slide. Episode 2. Jack finally encounters the daughters of Aku, which were teased in the first episode. It was also funny since the episode starts with our first look at Aku for the new season, which, in the very first time we see him in this episode, I wasn't sure you could tell that the voice was different. But in later episodes, I couldn't really tell the difference between the new voice actor and the old voice actor, who passed away, unfortunately, which is why they had to get a new one for this season. But he did a pretty good job. But they tease this super battle robot that they're going to try to use to attack Jack with, and Jack kills it with one attack. So clearly, Jack's become way more of a badass than even we saw him in the past at this point. But then he encounters the daughters of Q and they kick his ass. And here he is cowering for protection. And again, great episode, great writing, very dark themes. Jack's fighting his inner demons that are telling him to actually kill himself. It's very intense and very dramatic, and the art's amazing. And Jack ends up killing his first human at the end, which, given his mental state that he's in, that takes a pretty hard impact on him, as well as getting heavily injured himself in the fight. So, another great episode that I don't really have any problems with at all. Episode 3, we have more great writing where Jack is being compared to this lone wolf. He got in the fight with these gigantic alien creatures and survived. And it's just another great writing episode. He takes on the daughters of Aku, the rest of them, and right off the bat, kills 2, pinning them to a tree, stabs another one, throws another couple off the cliff, and all that's left is Ashi by the end of it, and we don't even see that in this episode. We only know she's left at the end, or the start of the next episode. But it shows Jack kind of regaining some of his confidence again. And obviously, he's even way more badass than we thought again, because these daughters have been training for their entire lives for the sole purpose of defeating Jack, and he kicks their asses almost instantaneously once he puts his mind to it. Great episode. I don't think there was any problems with it that I can recall. Let's move on. So next episode, it's Jack finds out that Ashi is still alive. The other two that got thrown off from the same place where Ashi was thrown off, nowhere to be found. And since this is the post-mortem and we know what happens in the end, I'll just say this is probably one of the first things where it seems like there's a little bit of a problem, because how does Ashi survive that fall but not the other two? Those two never come back in the series, which was disappointing. I was pretty sure that they'd come back, cause some more issues in the future. Not that they're any problem to dispatch, apparently, for once Jack got his confidence back. But it's just Jack and Ashi left, and they get swallowed by this monster. And Ashi still hates him incredibly, to a major degree, wanting to kill him any chance she gets, trying to get away at any chance she gets. And he's trying to keep calm and not kill her, while his inner demon is telling him to kill her. See, otherwise she'll kill him. But inevitably he does not. They eventually make it out, and through the process, Ashi has decided that she's not going to kill Jack. Another great episode. Pretty good pacing so far. No complaints. Next episode. So this one came out after the small break we got when the Rick and Morty episode 1 aired. And I think this is where things start to go downhill slightly. It starts off with us seeing the Scotsman trying to attack Aku, which is kind of the first thing that's kind of like, why is he doing that? He knows Aku's immortal. We've never seen anything to say that his sword can hurt Aku, and his sword breaks in half and Aku blasts him. So I don't know why this really occurred, other than just appealing to the fans by showing us the Scotsman still around, and then having him come back as a Force Ghost. It was kind of odd, it was cool, but this is where I'm starting to see where things... and he might be running out of ideas or something. I think he could have written him into the story a little bit better. I was kind of thinking from the previews and stuff that maybe he was going to save Samurai from the daughters of Aku. I think that would have worked a little bit better, but it's not what the case was. I can't remember what else happened in this episode. I think this is the one where Jack is showing Ashi all the horrible things Aku has done. And, which brings us to the end of the episode, is where things get weird here. I think, unless it's the next episode. I'm doing this off the fly, not from a script. But the end of the episode is Jack finds out that this, group of aliens had all their kids kidnapped and are being forced to work in, like, a factory. And so, Jack and Ashi go to save them. First sign of trouble with that part was Ashi is pretty much put down pretty quickly by the person in charge of the facility. She has a hell of a time surpassing the trap that he caught her in. And it's just strange, I think, that she's one of these kids that had been trained from birth to defeat Jack, and part of a 7-man squad that almost does it in the second episode. It's just a little bit weird that she's able to be overpowered so easily. Eventually she gets past it, but it takes her quite some time. Which was another thing that slightly bothered me about this episode. And then she deactivates the device, and all the devices explode on the children that were mind controlling them. And Jack immediately assumes they're all dead and goes off to kill himself. That was the next thing. I think this is the episode where things start going downhill. Like, I think that's a little bit of a rushed decision on Jack's part. They wake up in like 10 seconds afterwards, and Jack's not to be found anywhere. And I don't know how Ashi couldn't have just caught up with him, because she's been training her whole life to hunt Jack. It should not be hard for her to find him. So this is where things start to fall apart a little bit, but I think it's still pretty decent beyond that. The next episode, I think this is where things really start to fall downhill. Like, the last episode started it, but it looked like it might be alright. This one kind of took it to the next level, I think. It was still a good episode. Like I said, this whole series, this whole season, even though I'm pointing out the flaws here, it was overall a great season, I think. But I can see where people are getting upset, because this is probably one of the first ones, I think. Just because this one is stuffed full of obvious fan pandering to like a major degree. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Super. I don't know if you guys have been watching Dragon Ball Super, but basically the whole thing's been just pandering to everything the fans want, instead of the author doing what he should be doing. But this was one of those cases where Ashi's trying to find Jack, and in the process of trying to find him, she's meeting everyone he's ever helped, ever. So many different groups, like the Egyptian archer guys, the giant mammoth people, so on and so forth. She meets all of these people, the rave people, the samurai, who's just running a tavern now. It goes on and on of her meeting all these characters. Well, it seems odd that Jack's going so far away to kill himself and is passing through all the areas where he's already been before to get there. It's just kind of convenient they're all so nearby. You'd think that since it took so many seasons for Jack to help all these people, they'd be all over the planet. But no, apparently they're in like the same 5-mile radius or something. And she's finding them all, and there's an appearance by Damongo as well, which again is one of the fan favorite villains. But, oh geez, there's a train passing. I might have to link the two parts here together. I'll pause it for a moment here. You guys aren't really going to notice a thing. Alright, continuing onward. Sorry about the trains, it's very annoying. Don't even remember exactly where I was leaving off here, but... yes, they had Damongo reappear again. For when she was in the tavern with the samurai. And, well, normally that might be okay if he was going to make another appearance later as maybe a more major threat. He does not reappear any later in the series, so it's clearly he's just fan service with no real purpose. So this is where things were kind of falling apart and kind of going a little bit too far with sexualizing Ashi, I think, maybe. Not a big deal, but I think this is definitely where things are starting to decay. If that's your opinion on it. Next episode, after Jack gets over his depression thanks to Ashi, he gets his sword back. But I think this episode was probably completely okay. Now that I think about it, I don't think there was anything negative about this episode. It kind of broke the trend that was going down this last season half here. Has Ashi kicked the ass out of this army of dudes, which was awesome to see, because like I just talked about, it seemed like she was kind of not very strong in these last couple depictions of her, because she was pretty easily overwhelmed by the dude with the trap, and then the last episode she wasn't really able to help Jack with these ghost things either. So in this episode, she kicks huge ass, defeating the Soul Army on her own. Then her mother shows up, and she's forced to kill her own mother, which was very dramatic. Meanwhile, Jack is just in deep meditation, trying to regain his balance so he can get his sword back, because it wasn't physically missing, it left him, because it also had a cool flashback of Aku destroying the last time portal, and Jack gets so angry about Aku destroying this last time portal, and teasing him about it, as Aku does. He goes on a rampage trying to kill him, gets really angry. Aku transforms these cute little sheep creatures into terrifying monsters, and Jack kills them, and then they transform back to cute little creatures again, and then he loses the sword. So a very dramatic episode, dark themes again, with some humor spread in there, and this was a very good episode. There was nothing wrong with this one. It kind of gave me hope that maybe the previous 2 episodes were maybe just kind of a little bit of a fluke. Move on to the next one. This was the first one that seemed very out of place in the series. A lot of controversy about this one, but I don't agree with all the controversy, but one thing is kind of filler. It didn't really address anything that was going on for the major story arc. That you just kind of found this random crashed thing and they go into it for shelter. But through the whole episode, Jack and Ashi are flirting, and they kill this monster that's living inside this thing that crashed. It's like some kind of prison containment facility thing. And they kiss at the end of the episode. I don't really care about the kiss. Like, that's fine. I don't care about forcing hetero relationships or whatever the people on Tumblr are complaining about this episode. All I think is pretty rushed. Like, she's been training her whole life to kill Jack. And in just a few episodes, she's in love with him already. It's like, well, that's a little bit of a stretch. It's one thing for her to go from wanting to kill him to wanting him to prove that Aku is actually evil and being successful at that. That felt a little bit rushed, but they only have 1 season to get things done, so I kind of understood that much. This felt like it was extremely rushed. Like, this whole episode itself was just streamlined to getting to that point. I think it was a little bit too much, and like I said, it didn't really contribute anything else to the series other than just their relationship. So, out of place, rushed. It was an odd episode. The only thing that was pretty cool about it was something that most people didn't even mention was the market dude, the person they talked to at the market. He's voiced by the same dude who voices Zoidberg. I picked up on that pretty quick, and I looked at the credits and it was, so that was pretty funny. But most people didn't notice that. But yeah, I don't have the problem with them getting into a relationship. It just is too quick. And but I understand they have a very limited season length. I really think there should have been 2 more episodes to this season. And it's worth noting, this was the last episode that I watched before I made my last video. So if you want to watch that one to see where my thought process was going after this, this would be the time to watch that video. Yeah, only 2 episodes left, and they aired this filler episode. Very strange. They really needed to be a 12 episode season. Then I think they could have made this relationship make a little bit more sense, but they did not. So, next episode. Next episode, the penultimate episode. Jack goes off on his own because he's afraid of getting into the relationship with Ashi. He even looks in the mirror, and his old bearded self is telling him to be careful. That he goes off and tries to find what might be the last time portal. This is only implied by the location. He says he remembers it. It's like this giant junkyard with giant dead robots. And we see a crushed pair of red glasses. So I was right in one of my predictions, which was I was pretty sure that the Guardian was dead. There was a lot of people debating that no, he's not actually dead, but throughout the whole series, Aku's been saying he's destroyed all the time portals, and Jack said that all the time portals are gone as well. In Aku's case, he's like semi-omnipotent, So I kind of believe him when he says he's destroyed them all, unless he's trying to lie to someone, but he's talking to himself, so he's not lying to himself. He's destroyed all the time portals. And then Jack, he's supposed to be so full of hope that I don't see him just saying that all the portals are destroyed if he didn't think that this one was still around. But this episode confirms it's gone. And then Aku shows up because Scaramouche informed him that Jack lost his sword. Scaramouche was a little bit late with that intel, though. Jack has his sword back, and Aku destroys Scaramouche the instant he sees the sword. So, but that was pretty funny. And then upon seeing Ashi, he realizes that it's his daughter, and he kind of is able to control her and turns her into like a demon thing like himself. And Jack's struggling to fight her, but it's implied that he could kill her if he was up to it, but ultimately he decided that he couldn't kill Ashi. And so Aku steals the sword, and then we go on to the finale. So, my thoughts on the finale. Very mixed feelings. I think I'm happy with the ending to some degree. I'm happy that Jack's finally getting solace. But also, my prediction was completely off. Which I find incredibly strange. I don't know why Genndy has gone down this path. It's very odd to me. It's not what I would have done at all. But Jack is captured by Aku. He's separated from his sword. Aku's trying to decide how to kill him while he's airing it live on all the televisions in the world. Eventually he tells Ashi to kill him. And Ashi's about to kill him before all of Jack's friends show up and distract them from killing Jack. So all the people he's ever saved throughout the entire series, the underwater people, the jumping monkeys with the caveman, the robots piloting the giant robot, the Scotsman and his daughters, the dog people from the first episode, they all come to help Jack. And I was actually kind of expecting that part. I didn't know if it'd be in the last episode or second to last episode, depending on if Jack was going to be able to get back to the past or not. Kind of a long story. I think I explained that in the last one. I had in my head before the last few episodes that, like, the third to last episode would be everyone assembling their forces both on the good and evil side. The second to last episode would be the big fight. And the third episode would be the resolution, whether or not Jack kills Aku in the future and stays in the future, or goes to the past and kills him in the past. But they kind of compressed that all into this one episode. And Aku's actually on his own. So it's Aku and Ashi against all these people, which is fine odds since Aku is super powerful. But like we saw, they teased Damongo in an earlier episode, and they showed a list of other mercenaries hired by Aku when Scaramouche was trying to get on board that ship. So it's like, okay, they're probably teasing all these other villains are going to come help Aku on his side, but no, we didn't get that. So that kind of lessened, like, that's why I'm saying Damongo was just fan service at that point, since he didn't make another appearance. Jack gets his sword back. He finally breaks through to Ashi by telling her she loves him, or he loves her. Sorry. And she snaps out of being controlled, and then she also realizes she has Aku's powers. And the moment she realizes that, she teleports him back to the past. And then we see the final scene before Jack gets teleported to the future. Then after that scene plays out again, Jack appears back in the past. And he's like, "What? You're back already?" And Jack kills him. And then the what's it called? His base, Pit of Hate. Isn't that what his home is called? The Pit of Hate. it explodes, and they live happily in the past up until they're going to get married. Then Ashi says, Jack, if Aku never existed, I wouldn't be born, and then she disappears. And then Jack kinda is sad for a while, and then he kinda comes to grips with it. Without any speech, just visually speaking. Visually a great episode. It was a cool fight, though like I said, I think it would have been a lot better if it was more than just Aku versus everyone. I kind of was hoping that Aku would have all his villains as well. Particularly knowing that this episode has proven my theory that in the Jack universe, time travel is completely linear. He did not go back in time to another reality. The future wasn't another reality itself, it was all one timeline. As Ashi disappearing proves that, even though it happened way too late, but that's a different story. It's definitely one timeline, so they could have had all those other villains be there, and they could have killed off all the good guys in this huge fight. And it'd be all be okay because they're not going to exist in the end anyway. And we could have had this really even more awesome fight scene than we ended up with. And it just shocks me so much, guys. Like I talked about in my last video, I was sure that Jack was going to realize he can't go to the past because he's made so many friends and allies in the future. And he's lived in the future longer than he has in the past. He's in love with Ashi now. Like, why would he go back to the past at this point? The future isn't even, like, that bad. Like, it's not like Earth's been destroyed by Aku. Like, if this was Dragon Ball Z or something, if Frieza had won, he would have destroyed Earth. But Aku's, though he's evil, Earth's still intact and still okay, and Jack could fix things. But that's not what happened. And I'm just very shocked that that wasn't what Jack thought. Like, I'm almost disappointed in Jack for not doing anything about it, but I guess it's not his fault. I guess, like, Ashi kind of forced them into it. She just immediately teleported into the past as soon as she realized she could do so. Without asking him, but he didn't seem to care, and she could have took him back to the future. If he had insisted, but no, that's the end of it. Everyone he knew in the future is dead, and they will never ever exist, because, like I talked about with the butterfly effect, things are going to be so different now that Aku's gone that no one that's existed in that timeline is going to exist again. Unless they're aliens, maybe. But it wasn't really clear where. It doesn't really tell you throughout the Samurai Jack story about if all the people on Earth, all these strange things, are aliens, or if they're like evolved humans or mutants or what they are. It's just this very strange amalgamation of people. And it doesn't say where they're from or anything for the most part. A few people get their backstories explained, but not very many. So, as far as we know, for the most part, none of these people are going to exist now. It's very strange. That said, I'm happy Jack's made it back to the past, and he defeated Aku. Like, really, if, like, Ashi hadn't existed, or, like, if most of the stuff that happened in Season 5 didn't happen, and thus somehow the story of Season 5 was condensed into just one episode, without Ashi involved, without all the teasing that they had done throughout the entire season, then I could have just buyed Jack going back to the past and being happy. But with everyone's appearances and stuff, all his friends and allies as they've appeared throughout the Season 5, I was sure that they were just teasing that they're going to stay in the future. And they didn't. It's just very, very strange writing to me, and I don't know why it took that turn. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm happy, but not happy. Clearly I misinterpreted Bittersweet. He was apparently just supplying that Ashi was going to die, which you don't really care about Ashi. Her relationship with him was very, very short. That's it. Like I said, overall, this is still a great season. The first half is probably some of the best writing ever. It's just this last half thing kind of fell apart. But I hope y'all enjoyed and have a good day.